Welcome to the Black Knight Nation podcast. I'm Sal Interdonato. This podcast is sponsored by Higher Echelon. Higher Echelon is your go-to trusted partner for organizational excellence. Founder is Joe Ross, former Army football player, former Army football coach. Also, Joe Ross runs Higher Echelon. We thank him for sponsoring this podcast, and we welcome in our special guest, Army women's basketball coach Dave Magarity. Dave, thanks for taking the time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Sal.
Yeah, Dave, known you for a long time, and man, 47 years of college coaching, and started at Marist, and then Army, going to Army Women's. I was thinking about today, just looking up a couple things. You're the all-time winningest coach at Army, and I guess when it started for you at Army, you were an assistant to Maggie Dixon, of course, and then Maggie, her unfortunate passing, you took over the program that day. Could you see yourself here now? I mean, it's like 16 years later, you still on the bench at West Point, right?
Sal, it's you talk about a roller coaster ride or career. I mean, we joke about it. I've been getting a tremendous amount of just people reaching out, former players, and West Point, the athletic communications did a tremendous job putting together a video. And I don't know how they got these people. I mean, you had Rick Smith, you had Mike Breen, who started his broadcasting career doing Marist basketball games back in the mid '80s, and it was a tremendous. I mean, I can't tell you how heartwarming it was for me, but it's been an incredible run. I mean, I think my wife thought I was going to hang it up like right out on a white horse with Kelsey Minato back in, when we were 29-2. And I said, I don't know if it's going to get much better than this, but, she had retired as a teacher in 2015, but I just, I wasn't ready, and in 16, Boo Corrigan was the AD at the time. And he asked me, well, what do you want to do? And I thought that was a little bit of an open-ended question, but hey, let's be honest. I mean, I've gotten fired a few times in my career, so to be in that position, I just felt, let me ride it out and see where it goes. But I'm really, it's time, and it's, I feel good about everything that's happened, and what a great place to end, my career.
Without a doubt. I mean, going back to the Marist days, right, Dave? I mean, you came from St. Francis, right, and then you had some good years at Marist. I mean, you talk about Rick Smith, you talk about Mike Breen calling the games. I mean, going from men's to women's basketball, is it an easy transition, or what was it easy for you, or what are some things that you took maybe from the men's side that you used, you utilized in the women's game?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did. I started St. Francis. I played there, back in the late '60s, early. I mean, I'm going to date myself here, but early '70s. Played with some good teams with a couple NBA players. Norm Van Leer, Kevin Porter was my college roommate actually, and we had some great teams. But it was just a different time, And then I was the youngest Division I head men's coach in the country back in 1978 when. I came cheap, so the Franciscans were, they took the vow of poverty and expected the coaches to keep it. So I came very cheap and at 26, 27 years old. And then I had 3 great years at Iona working with Pat Kennedy right after Jimmy Valvano left. And, we played against Army in the old, when Army was in the Metro Atlantic Conference. But did I ever envision myself coaching women? No. I mean, the experience with my daughter, Maureen, who was a terrific high school player, player of the year in New York State back in 1999 and won state championships at Our Lady of Lourdes High School in Poughkeepsie. But I just never envisioned myself coaching women. But it was an interesting transition for me, I'll tell you.
Yeah. What at the Marist days? What are your fondest memories of those years? I mean, you had some really good seasons. You had some really good players.
Yeah.
When you go back to Marist, I mean, I'm sure it's a place that you still hold pretty close to your heart, no doubt. So.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All 3 of my children graduated from there. My my son-in-law is the current head baseball coach there, Chris Traz, and Maureen transferred back from Boston College and had 2.5 great years at Marist. 2-year captain, took them to their first NCAA tournament in 2004 with when Brian Georges took over, who was her high school coach. So it was a great run, and I coached there. I was a head coach there for 18 years, Sal. So I mean, we had some great teams, but we had some tough years too. But that's the nature of Division I at the mid-major level. I mean, you don't have all Americans sitting on the bench waiting to step in, when people go hardship. You graduate, you start over again, you rebuild. And, I'm proud of what we did there. I mean, if it wasn't for my last year, we had a tough year. I mean, we were very, very young. I started 3 freshmen, and that team went on to win the MAC championship. One of them went on to play in the NBA, Jared Jordan. I left the cupboard pretty full there, and the guy that took my place, who was a good friend, Matt Brady, will be the first to tell you. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story if I got a minute here. One of the great nights of my life was the year I took over at West Point after Maggie Dixon passed, as you mentioned. So, we had a good year. I mean, if Maggie, God willing, would have been there, she probably would have had a better year. We won 24 games. We set a record for most wins at West Point, and I was the New York Met Women's Coach of the Year, and the coach at Marist, Matt Brady, with all my players, including my son who played for him. My son Dave Jr. was on that team. They won the MAC regular season in 2007. And we're down at the New York Met Writers Dinner, and Matt Brady's up there, pontificating about me and how I left him all these players. And the player of the year was Jared Jordan, who won the Haggerty Award. He gets up and starts talking about me. And I'm like, geez, it was just one of the great, memories that I have. And I just, it's hard. I mean, you go through a lot in this business. I mean, and there's some tough times, and when things don't go, or maybe your time's up or you stay too long. I probably stayed too long at Marist. It is what it is. But, nobody can take away, those years. I mean, Rick Smits and I are still, the best of friends. I mean, we talk all the time. And, Alan Tomedy, we had some great teams and some great players. Remember the local kid from Goshen was the Haggerty winner, Isaac Buchanan. Yeah. I mean, we just Andy Lake from Burke Catholic. I mean, the list goes on and on. And these are guys that I stay in touch with, and I have contact with all the time.
How does Army come about? How do you end up at Army on the bench with Maggie?
That's one of the great, here I am. I decide when I leave Marist, I have an opportunity. Rich Enzer was the commissioner of the Metro Atlantic Conference, because originally, Sal, when I was reassigned. That was the thing. I was reassigned. I was going to be the director of athletic development at Marist, but Rich Enzer came in and said, "Dave, you don't want to do that. You want to come." So he gave me a position in the MAC as the director of men's basketball operations. And then I parlayed that into an assistant commissioner's position with the Mid-American Conference. So I was out there, and I was sent to cover a football game. One of the teams in our league was playing Army. That was Central Michigan, I believe. Yeah. And I call Bob Beretta for press credentials, and he goes, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something when you get here." And I'm like, "Okay," but he didn't tell me. Well, they announced Maggie as the coach. I get a phone call out of the blue from Jamie Dixon, who was a coach at Pitt, and I played against Pitt when I was at Marist, and one thing led to another, and everybody's like, "Well, would you consider?" And I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute! I'm an associate commissioner of a pretty good conference, a 1A football league, and it was a good job, but I was going to have to relocate to Cleveland, so that was a big deal, But when they put me together with Maggie that day, I was here covering the football game. We had dinner at the Thayer, and she said, "Look, I know we don't know each other, but 6 degrees of separation. I could go on and on and tell you how many people we had
Sure.
knew in common. And she goes, look, I think it would be a great fit. And, I'm a young, never been a head coach and all that. So I thought about it. I drove home and I said to my wife, and the first thing she said to me was, does that mean we don't have to move to Cleveland? So, so that. I commuted for that year. And then we had the great, you know the story, Sal. We had the
Yeah.
great year, first NCAA tournament in program history. And I move on. I take a job with my old assistant, Jeff Bauer, who was named general manager of the New Orleans Hornets. And I think, and then Maggie offers my daughter Maureen my job. So what could be better? And unfortunately, the tragedy happens, and she collapses, goes into a coma, and just horrible. It was a horrible time for everybody. But I had taken a job in the NBA, and thankfully I never signed a contract. I almost signed it, but I didn't. And Jeff Bauer was very gracious and spoke to the ownership and just said, "Hey, look, this is the right thing to do." And but I wasn't sure it was the right thing for me. I really struggled with. I didn't think I was the person to replace her. Number one, I thought they probably needed a woman. I thought, and I still do. I think whoever takes my job, I hope it's my associate head coach. That's who I'm endorsing, but that's not my decision. And it's Lisa Strack, who's terrific. She's been with me 6 years, but there's a national search going on. It's a good job, and I think we've made it a good job. But like my daughter Maureen always says to me, who's at Holy Cross now, she goes, "Yeah, you made it too good a job. I don't want any part of that job or the Marist job. So Marist women's job.
So Maureen will not be the next Army coach.
No, I don't think so. I mean, hey, you never know. I've had conversations with our athletic director, Mike Buddy, and he's we've chatted about some things, but I don't think that's in the cards.
I look at Army's history, right? I think there's 43 years of Army basketball, I think, and there's only been 7 head coaches on the women's side. So there's, there's a lot of consistency there, and you're the all-time winningest coach in the program history. And like you said, when you first were taking over the program, you weren't even sure, and then to see that come those 16 years or so pass, and like you said, there were 5 straight 21 seasons, right? I mean, there was a nice build there, and even this year, when it's a little bit, I was going to ask you, this has got to be one of your toughest coaching seasons this year, or no? With just everything going on and just when you can play, when you can't play with the COVID protocols, would you say this has been one of your toughest seasons so far?
Probably the most challenging. Off the floor. I mean, on the floor, the problems with kids being healthy, with losing kids. We had a pretty good non-conference thing, and the rest of the league, only Navy and Army were allowed to play non-conference games because of the fact that our kids. That was our appeal, and our superintendent, General Williams, was tremendous. I mean, our administration's unbelievable in terms of their support. But, he went and he battled for us. Look, these kids can't redshirt. These kids have a 47-month plan, and, every game they miss is one less game in their career. And that he's been, he's really been hell-bent on that. And so we got a chance. Now, that non-conference schedule got screwed up because people kept canceling on us.
Yeah.
We were supposed to open with this team, and then Albany was supposed to come, and then Binghamton and somebody else, and William and Mary. We got 5 games in. We were 3-2. We beat Quinnipiac, we beat Iona, we beat Ryder, lost to Marist, lost to Hofstra at the buzzer, and I was really excited about going into the conference, and then the COVID starts. We had contact tracing. I lost 2 starters in the first weekend, and then it's been tough. It's been hard. And then here we're getting ready to get on the bus to go to play Navy for the Star game 2 weeks ago. And, one kid. And then after they, do the contact tracing, so that we shut down for 2 weeks, we're maybe the timing, honestly, wasn't horrible because now Navy's women are done. They're out.
Yeah.
They can't play. And Colgate they opted out for other reasons, physical, with injuries. So it's just been really challenging.
Yeah, I guess it's been what, February 14th since you had a game, right?
Yeah.
And now you have Sunday's quarterfinal game at American. I guess this week is when you get back to practicing, or this is when you get back to practicing, and you know, for that American game, or
Well, yeah, we got our team is being released from quarantine. They have to test out, and they all have, with the exception, of course, of three of my starters. So we're two of them I think are going to get released today. Now there's a return to play protocol as well. So
mm-hmm.
you just we're going to go down there. As long as I have 6 or 7 kids, we'll play the game. Whatever. I mean, America's pretty good, but here's the funny thing, Sal. I mean, we were originally, we struggled. I mean, I'm embarrassed to say my daughter beat me 3 out of 4. That's something we can talk about too. But
yeah.
I just look at it and say, like a week ago, we've moved up like seeds because of people popping out. If this is ironic, if one team who's in a higher seed, and it could happen today, it could happen tomorrow, it could happen to us again, but if they have a positive, then we're going to move up another seed, and guess who we'll be playing in the quarterfinals? At Holy Cross, because she's right ahead of me. So by moving up from 7 to 6, at least we're not in the same bracket. I mean, that'd be my dream, playing her in a championship game, and that'd be fun.
Yeah.
But I just, it's almost like you just don't know. You got to be really light on your feet, and you got to be flexible and be able to adjust.
Yeah, going back to this season so far, we talked about a little bit about what it was like, but to coach, to be the first father and daughter to coach against each other, at the Division I women's level, that had to be really incredible, Dave. Right?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, something like that. Probably. I mean, she's been on your bench. She's been an assistant coach for you, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And now she's on the opposite side, and just to see those photos before and after, and know that during you guys were matching each other, was had to be pretty interesting. On my side, just to follow up, what was it like for you?
It was surreal. It really was. I mean, I go back. I didn't give it a lot of thought until I got a call from an old friend of mine. He's the National Associated Press women's basketball writer, Doug Feinberg, and he goes, "By the way, I think this may be the only." And I go, "Really?" So he researches it. And then our sports information department, my SID, JJ Klein, he starts looking into it. And yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, unless somebody's not stepping up, it's incredible. I mean, there's so many weird things. I mean, in my career, I mean, you mentioned, and this, I don't want to sound like I'm patting myself in the back. I mean, I'm the all-time winningest coach at Marist. I'm the all-time winningest. But here's a great nugget too. There's only 2 coaches in the history of the NCAA that have taken both a men's and a women's team to the NCAA Division I tournament. It's me and a guy who I played for in high school in a summer league, Speedy Mars.
Wow.
That used to be the coach at LaSalle. He was at LaSalle University as a women's coach first, then went to the men and had those great teams with Lionel Simmons and those teams back. You remember, way back. And so,
oh yeah,
it's just a weird. It's a weird dynamic. It's a weird situation, and I can't believe I'm still here. I'm like, I just coaching men for 33 years, and I mean, I really thought I was done when I left to go into athletic administration, and then I'm 71. I mean, like, what am I doing? What am I doing?
What during the first game against Maureen, was there? Did she get you a couple times? Did she run a play that maybe you hadn't weren't prepared for? Or I mean, did she have a few tricks up her sleeve, so to speak?
Well, I'll tell you, we made a decision a year ago, and it's I got to be careful what I say because my staff is so invested, and this offense that we're trying to run. It's
Okay.
a motion type of an offense, and they really had to convince me to do this because I'm really more of a pro set guy, quick hitters. Here we are playing them, and she's kicking our you know what. I mean, and I'm looking down, and she's running all my stuff. She's running these curls, and she's running off staggered screens, and all the stuff I ran from Minato and Kara Enright and she's running all that, and she ran all that when she was a coach at University of New Hampshire, and had a pretty good run there. Had some great teams and won championships in the America East. So, but in fairness to my staff, and I believe in it, is that our personnel with the injuries we had and everything else, it is the perfect offense as long as these kids buy in. So, and they struggled with certain concepts, but Maureen she's pretty consistent with what she's running. I know exactly what she's running, and you just got to go out and stop it. You got to be able to stop that.
Your decision to retire was announced shortly after that series, the first series with Holy Cross. You talked about it earlier in the podcast, but walk us through like the actual when you're sitting down and thinking about this might be it for you.
Well, I met with Mike Buddy and the senior women's administrator Chris Fowler last June, and I told him, I said, look, this is going to be it for me. I would like to fulfill my contract. I asked them. I said, I have one more year left. Are you okay? If you're not okay with it, then we need to have a conversation because I do have a contract. So they were fine, and they said no. Then I told my staff, and then honestly, I just felt that to be fair to everybody, and I felt, Sal, we're just not the team that we had put together. I mean, what happened last year, late in the year, for those people that followed the program, three of our best players, three of our starters have not played this year because of delayed surgeries due to COVID. We lost one of our best players, Lindsay Skaman, in the Navy game in February, blew her knee out. And then we lost Cameron Hall a week later in the Colgate game, and she tore something in her knee. And Hope Brown had issues. So, I mean, these are like all conference level kids, in my opinion. So we're not the same team. So that was an issue, and I thought about that. So there was a point in the summer I'm thinking, ooh, maybe I better retire, But it's a good group of kids, and the whole team will be back next year again. So if we get all those healthy kids back, and then God willing, hopefully if my associate head coach gets the job, I think she'll do great. But whoever gets the job, I think we'll have a nice group. So that was always something in my mind, and I sort of referenced what happened at Marist, and that wasn't maybe my choice to leave, but I did leave the cupboard full, and I think the cupboard's full now. We got some really talented kids coming back, and they just announced today. We made a kid in our all-rookie team. Elisa Fallon made the all-conference team. I think Sabria Hunter should have made a team, but that's okay. And it is what it is. But I really think that for me, it's just 47 years is a good run, and what we did here, I think, is special. I think I can walk away feeling I think I made Maggie proud. We always wanted to keep her memory alive, and we've done a pretty good job with that here, I think.
Yeah, how do you do that? I was going to ask you that before. How have you been able to keep Maggie's memory alive?
Well, I mean, I think if you walk in our office, if you walk into the team room, if you walk into the Hall of Fame, I mean, there's always that's something. You walk into Crystal Arena, her banners are still, Coach of the Year. I mean, when I look up and I see her banner or my banner next to each other, it just makes me, it's emotional. It really is. I mean, she was so special. And, the funny thing about her, though, Sal, and I think you would agree, let's say she comes back, and there were schools chasing her down after that first year. I'm telling you, I'll never forget the AD at Fordham. We were in the Final Four, men's Final Four. I was with her and her brother Jamie out in Indianapolis, and we were at a CBS party, and there were people stalking her because they had openings in their women's coaching position. So let's just say she comes back for a second year. We won 24 games that year. She would have done that. I don't know how long she would have been here, and I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
And not that, and I all when I told them I was going to be a women's coach, she said, "You're nuts. You're crazy. What are you doing? You're walking away from a great job, as an associate commissioner." But I just look back and I think to myself, what if I was, 15 years younger and we had that run that you mentioned? I mean, we averaged like 25 wins over a 6-year period. And I probably would have looked, I mean, you're always looking at a higher level, but this is a unique job. I mean, this, I mean, what other mid-major has the cachet that we have, and Navy has, I think, and certainly Air Force. But Air Force, I mean, you can't win, at least in our sport. You can't win there. I mean, the woman that's coaching there now came from Yale. She's my age, a little maybe younger than me, but I mean, she's a hell of a coach. I mean, her overall record right now is like 30 and 120 something.
Wow.
I mean, how do you survive that? I can't. I mean, I believe me, I've had bad years, but I don't think it just, that just wears you out. I mean, one of my former assistants is on the staff out there, and we talk all the time, and she's probably trying to get involved with this job, but I think this is a really special place. It's a perfect league. I mean, it's competitive. It's great that we're in there with Navy. I think it's just sort of a neat thing, but I mean, it's special.
No doubt. When your retirement was announced, I look at when I was looking at social media, just the respect factor, right? Especially from the Navy side, the respect factor that you must have got a lot of messages across the board during this from the time you announced to now. But just the fact that Navy, there is definitely they talk about the football series being, very, competitive and very storied, but that are anywhere when there's Army and Navy in any sporting event in college. I mean, right? I mean, there's just a bond there, and it seems like there was a lot of respect coming from the Navy side when your announcement happened too, right?
Well, yeah, and sort of ironically, when you look at it, Army and Navy women's basketball, when you look at the last decade, from 2010 to 2020, I mean, we won like 6 championships in there. Their women were terrific, and I mean, they made a coaching change, which I think the young guy they hired is a really nice guy, Tim Taylor. Got a chance to meet him for the first time when they were here in January, and we split and 2 good games, and I was really looking forward to going that because that was it for me. That was we haven't played the Star game. There's been talk about us trying to do that. I mean, I don't know how we would do that, but I would love to do that. And I just have such great respect for them. And the previous coach, Steph Pemper, was a great coach. I mean, she went to like I think 5 or 6 national tournaments, three consecutive NCAAs. So but what I'm probably most proud of is in my 15. No, I guess it's 14 because I didn't play this one this year. I'm 10-4 in the Star games. So
wow.
But overall, I think we're dead even. I may even be a game under 500.
Yeah,
overall.
it's close. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, and it's been great. I mean, hey, we've had great wins, great, tough losses, but I mean, probably you asked me, my greatest memory is when we played them in Madison Square Garden back in 2016. It was an unbelievable day because of the historic snowstorm.
Yep.
Men's game got canceled after us. My granddaughter was born that day.
Wow.
Maureen went into labor up in New Hampshire. My wife was freaking out because we couldn't get out of the city. They shut the whole city down, and we beat them by 38 points in the Garden.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think about wow. I mean, just some unbelievable memories, and I've had so many great relationships on both the men's and the women's side, and You mentioned Mike Breen. I mean, it just goes on and on. Just great people that I knew. I mean, God bless his soul. One of my best friends was Jim O'Connell, the great
Sure.
writer for the men's basketball and the Associated Press, and him and his wife Annie were dear friends of ours. I mean, I just it's really it's going to be hard, walking away from it.
Yeah, just the star game you mentioned that you maybe will play. That would obviously have to happen after the Patriot League tournament, right? If
Yeah,
it's going to happen, so to be determined, you think, or
yeah. No, Mike Buddy has absolutely said, hey, if we can make this happen, we're going to do it. And we would be allowed to do it because you could keep. I think you could play up until the national championship game.
okay, yep,
So if we can do it, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If we can get a healthy team together, and we're supposed to play 2 games down there.
okay,
We were supposed to play them 4 times, like we
yeah.
played everybody else. They had us playing. They had me playing all the way across 6 times, which I thought was insane. But Maureen had to play BU. I think. Until they got to that 12th game, and then
Yeah,
everybody was like,
yeah.
"Hey, let's not roll the dice here and take any chances." And it's scary. And then all of a sudden, boom! Holy Cross men are out of the tournament. So that can happen anytime, and I would hate for that to happen, but you got to hold your breath on that one.
I was going to ask you what your emotions may be like going into Sunday, where it could possibly be the final game of your career, but it may not be with the star game coming after the Patriot League tournament, right? So
Yeah,
you
I,
kind
I
of
hope
got to.
I hope we can do that. I mean, because I'd love to go down there, and one of the great stories, and I'm going to tell you this on a podcast. I probably should wait, but nobody here knows this. Not many. I don't think anybody knows this. I was in the Navy, and guess what? I was stationed in Annapolis.
Wow.
So you can see the naval base is right across from Alumni Hall, across the bay.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because one of my good friends from St. Francis, one of my fraternity brother of mine, owns this. He's an owner of one of these great restaurants called the Severn Inn, because you're right on the Severn River.
Yep.
And we always take the team there for a pregame meal before we play down in Annapolis, but we couldn't go this year. So he's like, we're texting back and forth, and so he finds out we're going to come down for the Star game. It's going to be that'd be fun. No, I'm really. I hope we can do that.
Yeah, I hope that happens because that would really be a nice ending, right, Dave? I mean, yeah, the Patriot League tournament is nice, and in this chaotic season, you could, right, from what you're telling me, toward the end of the week, you may have a different opponent than what you've been sort of game planning for. When does that, like Friday or Saturday? Is there a cut line for that, or just
I don't know. I think if somebody pops positive these next couple days, because everybody's going to be testing out, um, I don't know. I haven't heard any cutoff. So we play Sunday. Our men play American Saturday.
yeah,
Um, and we're supposed to leave Saturday. So I don't know.
wow,
I don't know. I hope. I mean, if somebody else like Bucknell's had a lot of problems up there. I mean, they only played 8 games on the women's side.
yeah,
So, and they get the 1 seed. So I know the BU coach wasn't happy about that, but they lost 2 games. The Boston U lost to the Magaritys. They lost to me, and they lost to Holy Cross. So, but they were good. BU's really good. I mean, that would be a great championship game if everybody stays healthy. I mean, obviously, I hope I'm in it, but at the end of the day, they're 2 very good teams, even though they've battled all this adversity with personnel. But so Lehigh, I think Lehigh's they are the 4 seed, and then Americans 3, and then BU's 2, and Bucknell's 1.
yeah. I guess couldn't have a better coach to navigate Army through, right? A guy that's been through just about everything now, and now you're heading into like maybe the final stands of your career. Now you're this is so much uncertainty. It's nothing that you haven't seen, right? I mean, you can handle. It's something that you can definitely handle, right? With the
Well, when you say that, but think about it. When in our lifetime have we ever seen this?
yeah,
I could say I can fall back on my experience of coaching or situations, but this has been unbelievable. And I just thank God every night that I'm here because I'm not sure listening to what's going on around the country at some other schools, especially schools that are, we're not a BCS, we're not a Power Five, conference where they're going above and beyond. We all know that, but here it's been incredible. I mean, the medical staff, the hospital commander. I mean, I've become such good friends with Colonel Dawson, the hospital commander. She gave me my first vaccination shot, and now I'm getting my second one later this week, tomorrow actually. So it's been incredible to be here. I can't think of a better place. And and I mentioned that earlier. To finish my career here, to finish around people like this. I mean, I've been blessed, and I never envisioned being here 16. It's 16 years.
yeah,
The year with Maggie, and it's my 15th year. But it's been an incredible experience for me and my wife. We've lived on post now, and we're trying to figure out where we're going to go. I got to move again. I got to get out of here. I got to get out of this house at some point here, and it's tough. It's going to be tough.
What's your first place once this pandemic is gone? What's your first vacation place, retirement vacation destination?
Uh, well, we've been talking about we have 7 grandkids. We want to take them to Disney, but I don't know. I don't know when that's going to happen. I'm not sure where we're going to settle permanently. Possibly Delaware. We have a home there, but my wife wants to be in this area. So I think we're looking in the Mid Hudson Valley. So we could probably split it. I'd like to do that if we can figure it out because I have grandkids in Poughkeepsie, Long Island, and then Worcester. So this would be a perfect central location.
Do you think that I gotta think you'll be finding yourself in a basketball gym right after? I mean, will you be going to a lot of Holy Cross games down the road, or is that something that you haven't even put any thought to yet? You got too much left here at Army to take care of.
Well, people have talked to me about that. I mean, the one when I left Marist that one year, I did a lot of TV stuff, and I used to work with Tony Marino and Dean Darling a little bit here or there. So I mean, I have a little bit of experience with that, but I'm not sure. That's some of the younger kids doing that. I mean, that's a real tough, travel and this and that. My close friend Jeff Bauer, who I mentioned, he's now with the Phoenix Suns, and I could see myself doing something there because when I took the position with him, I was going to be involved with scouting, college scouting, and But that's when I said, you know what, I really want to coach, and do I want to be sitting in a gym in Lithuania watching kids play, which I probably would have been. But that's not, I mean, I could see myself doing that too. My brother is still in Europe. He was a professional player and coach over there, and both his kids played here in the States at Virginia Tech. My niece was like one of the all-time greatest player, I think, at Virginia Tech.
Wow.
And my nephew played at BC and then transferred to Davidson. So they had great careers here, but they're all playing professionally. So I don't know. That could be something I do. With Maureen, I mean, I just don't want to get involved. I gotta let her do her own thing. She doesn't need me breathing down her neck.
That's what I guess ESPN Plus is for, right? I guess maybe.
Hey, maybe I'll do her games. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Critique her from that standpoint, but I joked around. We have a guy that does our game. He's terrific, Justin Rock. I think he does a lot of minor league baseball too, but he does it all by himself. I said, you need a color guy.
It's crazy, yeah.
You need a color guy,
Yeah, even on the even on the men's side, Rich DeMarco, sometimes John Feinstein joins them, but a lot of times Rich is doing solo, and I give
Yeah, I heard John. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I had never heard John do basketball for Army.
yeah,
And then what game was it? It was I think I forget who it was, but
couple weekends ago, yeah,
it was Holy Cross, I think.
yeah,
Yeah, it was the first Holy Cross. They won the game. They won, then they lost the second game, I think. But yeah, he was. I mean, John's great. I love John. I mean, he's terrific. I mean, I don't know, Sal. That would be something I probably would have fun with, but depends on where I'm at too. You know.
yeah, no doubt. We really appreciate the time, Dave. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you're preparing for the Patriot League tournament, no matter what opponent you get this weekend, right? We'll see what we'll see what happens, and we really hope that star game happens after the Patriot League tournament. That would be excellent. Man, just a pleasure. Class act. Really have followed your career since you've been at Army. Knew a little bit about you in Marist, but really got to know a little bit more about you at West Point. And and I guess the best thing you could say about somebody is, anybody that you've talked to about Dave Magarity, there's always been a positive word to say about how much he just loves, basketball, the team, and just like I can't tell you enough how really appreciative we are to have this talk with you before the Patriot League tournament this weekend.
Well, Sal, it's been a pleasure, working with you over the years and just in general. I know you've had to endure working with people like Kevin Gleason and those type of people. But these are it's been great. I've had a great relationship with the media. I think I've always tried to be fair. I've always been treated fairly. So I mean, these something like this is great. This is a great production here. I think to do this and bring me back another time. Maybe I'll be doing something else. Maybe I'll be a high school coach at Monroe Woodbury or something. You never know. You never know. But thanks so much for having me,
Dave. The door is always open. You could anytime you could appear on the Black Knight Nation podcast. Really appreciate it tonight. Good luck again. Good luck this weekend in the Patriot League tournament.
Thanks so much. Goodbye.